Hello friends, Eron Costin here, right from Brazil. Today I'm going to show you how to export your model made in Revit and import this model into the Max in order to use the Vray plugin to render your scene. So the first thing you got to do is open your 3D view and export your model. Going to the application button, export, CAD format. I choose this kind of format because I sometimes open this model using AutoCAD, and this allows me to edit this model. But you could also use the FBX files. But in my workflow, I will use the CAD format, DWG files. Here, we must change some things in the modify button, which is this button right here. And what I choose, what I have to modify in these tabs is units and coordinates. I use centimeter as my default unit in 3ds Max, so I will choose centimeter. In the solids tab, I choose SC solids. This is also in order for make the edition of this model in AutoCAD easier. But if you don't use AutoCAD for editing, you can forget about this. But I choose this kind of export. Alright, press OK. Press Next over here. Choose a location. I will choose, for instance, my desktop. I'll call it house, for instance. AutoCAD 2010 DWG files. All right. Okay. All right. Now we are in 3ds Max. The first thing you have to do here is to choose the setup of your units. And here you can go to the customize unit setup. I choose metric centimeters. And in the system unit setup, I also choose 1 unit, 1 centimeter. This will make the process of mapping our textures much more easier. Now let's import our model using the application button, import, import again, and choose our house DWG, open. What I choose here, I only change one configuration, which is this configuration, maximum surface deviation for 3D solids. I choose 0,1. If you have something just like a round column modeled in Revit, you decrease this setting in order to have a much smooth surface. All right, press OK. Now we have our model in 3ds Max. The next thing you got to do is to choose Vray render as your production mod. Here you can go to the render setup or press F10 button in your keyboard, render setup. I will choose in the common tab, assign render in the bottom, production, press the button inside, and I'll choose Vray Advanced 2.00.02, which is one of the latest versions of Vray. The next step, I will show you how to configure a study scene. It's a very simple configurations that we will change, and we can start in the Vray tab over here, and in the Vray image sampler you can choose adaptive DMC. In the initialize filter you can choose quadratic, and in the Vray adaptive DMC sampler you can choose max min subdivisions 1 and max subdivisions 6. This will produce a very smooth results and a smaller time of render. I also will change some things in Vray color mapping. Here I like to use the explanation kind, which will control the overexposure of the lights of your scene, so exponential is a very good way to use. We can go to indirect illumination tab, change to on over here. The primary bounce is GI engine irradiance map. You can maintain this over here, but in this button here, you change the secondary bounces to light cache, which is one of the most used ways of calculate your indirect illumination of your scene. In order to produce your study scene, you can change the Vray irradiance map current preset to very low over here. I will minimize this tab. In the light cache, you can decrease the subjectives to 500. All right, and this is it. We have our study configuration done over here. Now I'm going to show you one workflow that is very simple to use, and it made much more easier to configure your scene using this workflow, which is applying a white material in your entire scene, and then apply some lights, and after that you will produce your correct materials. So I press the button M, and this open the material editor. You can press this button over here also. So when you are using Vray, you have to use Vray materials. So what I have to do is change this the name of this material over here, white wall, for instance. Change from standard to Vray MTL, which is the basic material in Vray. And the diffuse color, you can change it to white, which is the color itself. The next thing you have to do is select all your model and press this button, assign material to selection, which will apply this material to all geometry of your model. All right. The next thing you must do is to create a Vray physical camera. Going to the create panel over here, going to cameras, and change to Vray over here, and choose this Vray physical camera, the right one over here, and I'll click and drag. All right. You must render your scene use this camera, or your scene can be overexposed. So I will change right click over perspective, cameras, Vray physical camera. All right, this is my point of view of my scene from now on. One cool thing that you could do over here is press the right button and turn on the show save frames, which will indeed show the correct angle of your scene over here. All right, the next thing you have to do is to create some illumination. I will use for the scene the Vray sun and the Vray sky, which is a built-in illumination which comes with the Vray. So I can go to the create button and lights and choose Vray kind over here and choose Vray sun. Then I will click and drag. All right. I will choose yes, which will create an environment map using the Vray sky. Okay. I must to select the move and up your sun, our sun over here. Position it where you want. All right. The next thing you have to do is to open your render setup and to choose in the Vray tab, Vray environment, turn on these two options over here. This will The GE environment skylight is the light which will be sent from the sky of your scene. So here you must choose Vray sky also over here, and in the reflection bar reflection slash refraction environment override, you can choose over here your Vray sky also. So we have the light and the reflections came in from the Vray sky also. The next thing we have to do is to go into render setup again. In the common tab, I will reduce the width and the height of our render for 500 in order to produce some studies. And press the render button, and here we have our scene, white scene. And from now on, you can produce your materials. I will show you how to produce some materials. At first, let's produce the glass material. Press the material editor, M key in your keyboard. Go into a new slot. We will call it glass material. Change from standard for Vray MTL. The diffuse color, you can turn it to a little bit darker, around 70, for instance. The reflect, you can change the value to around 50. Here I will turn on this background in order to see the reflection in your material. All right. The next thing you have to do is to change the reflection, which is the transparency of your glass. The refract, I will turn this to almost white, 245 for instance. And for the glass, you must turn on the effect shadows, change the effect shadows color plus alpha, and EOR. And in the EOR, which is the refraction index, you can change it to 1,52, which is the index of the glass. All right. This is a simple glass, a very standard glass, and we can apply it in our glass panels. When you bring your model from Revit, the easiest way to manage your model is using the manage layers over here. Here you have your all your categories separated by layer in the 3ds Max, and is very easy to select the parts of your model using this manage layer in 3ds Max. So I will select all our glass, going to the A glass and selecting using the shift key, and press this button, select highlighted objects and layers. And now I have all the glasses selected. Press the M button, select glass, and use this assign material selection. And now I applied the glass to these panels. We can make a test. Going to the render step. I will maximize the size of our render for 1000, for instance, and render. All right, now we have our scene with the glass applied on. If I want to create a black metal to the mullions, And this is the next step. I will produce this material in the material editor, black metal, change from standard for Vray MTL. In the diffuse, I will choose the black color. In the reflection, I will increase it a little bit, for instance, for 30. Change the background on. I will maximize, double click over it. This rough glossiness setting, if I decrease this to 0.7, for instance, I will have this kind of reflection, which is very good. All right, now let's apply this to our emulsions using the manage layers. Going to the A-glass curtain wall emulsion, select all the emulsions, pressing the shift button, going to select highlight. All right, now all the emulsions are selected. Press the material that you want to assign to this selection and press this button, and this black metal is applied to all our emulsions in our scene. You can press the render production over here and wait a minute. All right, this is the result of our scene. Okay, now I will show you how to create the concrete. You can go to a new slot, call it concrete, change from standard to Vray MTL. In the diffuse empty button in the right side, I will press this button, change bitmap, and I am in C program files, Autodesk, 3ds Max, Maps, ArcMat. These textures already came with the software. When you install the software, you in this folder can browse for all these textures. So I will choose, for instance, this concrete cast in place, farm work, wood 1. I will press this button, go to parent. Now I have in the diffuse, I have this kind of material. Down here in the maps tab, I will choose another texture in the bump. The bump will produce the texture sensation of your material. So here I will choose another bitmap. This is an already made map for using in the bump. All right, I'll put it here, go to parent. Now, if I increase this value for 200, for instance, I will realize that the concrete over here is more textured. So I will choose about 8, for instance. All right, I can make some reflections over here in the reflect, turn it to around 30, for instance, in the reflect, in the value. In the reflect glossiness, I can change this to 0.8. All right, now our concrete is a little bit more reflective. Now let's apply this concrete to our walls and floors, choosing the manage layer, which are already here, but I will close and open again, manage layers, select wall, and this separate by name our types of walls made in Revit, which is a very cool way of applying your materials using when you are inside it through the Max. I'll choose all the concrete wall that I made in Revit, select highlights, and then I will apply this material to them. I will minimize this. I'm going to the floor over here, and I will choose the concrete floor that I already made. I made these types of floors in Revit. So I select the highlighted, go to material, apply. All right. The next step is to scale the size of your texture in your model. And one easy way to do that is going to the material, press this button, and view image. This will show you the texture that you are using, and you can think about the dimensions that these textures have in the real world. So let's guess that the size of this texture in real world is about 2 meters or 200 centimeters in the base and 150 in the height. So what you have to do is to select all the geometry in your scene that has this material assigned in it, choosing the material in this in the material editor. I will choose the concrete over here and press this select by material. This will select all the geometry in my scene that has the concrete assigned in it. Select, and I will choose one modifier over here in the modify tab in 3ds Max. I will press this button and I will find the UVW map. And here, this modify will apply the size of the texture in your geometry. So I will choose box over here, and I will apply the dimensions, which is the height 150, 200, 150. One thing you have to do in order to view your texture in your camera over here is to turn on this setting in your material, which will allow you to see the material in your scene. Okay, one more thing that I could do is to rotate the orientation of these textures. If I, in the top view, press the F3 button, I will see that the orientation of my texture in the floor is different of the orientation in my wall in the right of the scene. So I can press this plus button, select the gizmo over here, select the rotate over here, press the right click, and in the top view I will change the Z value to 90. This changes the orientation of the texture. All right, now the floor and the wall is in the same orientation, and I can test it using the render production button over here. All right, this is the result that we achieved. In the next step, I will show you how to produce the grass material. So we can go to the material editor, choose a new slot, change the name to grass, for instance, standard to Vray MTL, and the diffuse I will choose one map that already comes with the 3ds Max in the program files, Autodesk, 3ds Max, Maps, ArcMat. So let's try to find this over here. Site work planting grass 1. Okay. The material is as simple as that. We can apply this to our grass. I will select right by clicking in the scene, and we will apply this to the scene. I will turn on the visibility of the material. In this geometry, I must also apply the UVW map modifier. Going to the modify and change to UVW map. You can have it in a planar way. you have a surface, a 2D dimension, and so you can let it in a planar way. Let's see the size of this grass over here in the material view image. We can say that these have 120 in the real world. The size of this texture is 120 by 120. All right, in the top view you can see that, all right, this grass is in a good size. The next thing you have to do is to apply another modifier which comes with the Vray, which is called Vray Displacement Mod. You can go to the Modify panel and change Vray Displacement Mod over here. Change to the type to 2D mapping. In the text map, you can choose another texture in the same folder. I will choose this time the side-work planing thick bump, this one over here. And after that, I will choose the height of this grass. In the amount, you can choose the height of the leaf of this grass. Over here, I will change 8, for instance. And let's save and render in order to see what happened. Alright, the grass is made. Now I will show you how to create the water material. Let's go to the material editor, new slot, water, change from standard to Vray Metal. The water is very close to the glass, so we can change the diffuse a little bit darker, 65 for instance, the reflect for the value 50, the refract turn to 40. All right, affect shadows, color plus alpha. The IOR of the water is 1,3. all right, we can maximize and turn on the background to see. Is very similar to the glass. And the next thing you have to do is to apply the waves using the maps over here. In the bump, you can choose the bump one map called noise over here. All right, now we have the waves of our water. Next thing you have to do is to apply this to our scene, to our material, to assign material. All right, I would teach you how to render just a region of your render. Going to the rendered frame window over here, change the view to region and select only the region where you have your new material. The water is over here, for instance, and press render and wait a minute. All right, this is the result. If you want to increase the size of the waves, you can go to the material, enter in the bump, noise, and increase the height of your waves. You can increase it in the bump value over here. If you change it to 100, for instance, 100, and press render again. All right, so this is the result that we achieve. Now I will show you how to produce a night scene. This is basically your daily scene. If your intention is to produce a night scene, you can go to your sun and turn it down. All right, I will produce a smaller render. Just going to the render stop, output size, put this to 300, just in order for seeing the aspect of our scene. Alright, now we have an almost night scene, and you can add some lights to your scene. Just going to the create lights, Vray light, and produce 1, 2 lights inside our scene. I select them both. I must to put these lights in the roof. Alright, now I will change the configuration of this light, the multiplier to almost 150. The color, I will change this to orange. Alright, right click, copy, select the other light, right click, paste in the color, multiplier to 150, and press enter again. Alright, this is the result that we achieve. One more thing that you could do in this kind of situation is to select your camera, and in the F number, which is the exposure, the size of the diaphragm of your camera, you can decrease it to in order to about 5. Alright, this will brighter your scene a little bit. Alright, this is the result, much more brighter the scene, and now I will show you how the end result will be. So if you want to render your scene in a final way, you can go to the render setup. Over here in the common tab, you can increase the width and the height of your scene. This is the pixels, and I will choose an 1500 here, and change the indirect illumination irradiance map to medium value in the current preset. Increase these values to 8 and to 50 over here. Minimize and go to the light cache, and in the subdivs I will increase this to 1200, and this is the quality of your final scene. So press enter, and so 1 hour after, this is the final result. That's all, folks. See you on next.